The Copilot SDK enables you to bring the power of GitHub Copilot directly into your applications. Now, when this was first released, I immediately thought, how could I use the Copilot SDK essentially as an AI API in one of my personal apps? Turns out this was pretty simple to do and unlocked a lot of new potential in an app that I use in my everyday life. Let me show you. So I've been using this planning app for a little while, originally just as a basic meal planning app that stored some of my family's favorite meals, and it would cycle through those static options weekly. But I knew this app could be way more useful if I could generate dynamic plans based on things like meal preferences and give me more robust information back for planning. So that's where the Copilot SDK comes into play. We can see I have this generated plan that breaks down each meal, ingredients, prep instructions, and even notes for preparing in a child-friendly and adult-friendly way. I can even regenerate a specific meal or regenerate the entire weekly meal plan based on specific constraints. Now, I have a toddler, and if you know, you know, things change constantly. So this week, he is not a fan of oatmeal. So let's generate a whole new plan that takes that into account using the Copilot SDK. And we'll wait just a few moments while Copilot generates that meal plan. Then once done, we can head back and see that we now have that newly generated meal plan with no mention of oatmeal, so we can avoid the meltdowns. So this makes it really easy to meal prep in a way that makes sense for my family by simply using natural language. Now, once I had the meal planning functionality down, I realized another pain point I had in my day-to-day life was generating dynamic weekend plans based on things like the weather for the weekend, any special events happening in my area, and working around any scheduling constraints. So then I quickly spun up a weekend planner feature that implements the Copilot SDK as well. Now, similar to the meal planning functionality, I can specify any specific constraints that I have, and that will get passed into the prompt to generate my plan. So I can specify that we're visiting family on Sunday morning and plan to just have a nap in the car on the way back, and see what Copilot comes up with for my weekend plans. After just a few moments, we have a nice breakdown of morning, afternoon, and evening activities, taking into account that constraint that I specified and dynamically providing tips for making the activity most impactful and set us up for success. It even provides backup options, so that mental load of planning for the weekend is taken off our plates, all by passing just a few details to Copilot. So that's an overview of the app, but let's take a look at the code now. I have all of the Copilot SDK logic in this ai.ts file, and the Copilot SDK code is actually really simple to implement in your application. First, a quick overview of the SDK architecture. Your application talks to the SDK, which communicates with the Copilot CLI. So you need to have the Copilot CLI installed, as well as the relevant SDK for your project, which for me is the Node.js SDK. Now the code is straightforward. You will initialize a Copilot client, which will set up that CLI connection, and then you'll create a session where you can specify the model, available tools, and other parameters like a system message. Then you'll send your prompt, parse through the response, and that's it. Really just a few lines of code to bring that power of GitHub Copilot directly into your application. Now, authentication is handled all through your GitHub subscription, so that's incredibly helpful because there's no juggling of different API keys or anything. I could go further into the technical details, but what I really want to emphasize here is how this has unlocked a lot of creativity for me. I found myself getting really excited about all the features I can add and not limited by the thought of, okay, but how could I actually implement that? Because so much more is possible now. So the next question is, what will you build with the Copilot SDK?